The Renters' Rights Act comes into play on May the 1st, 2026. Now, it might not be a date you've been looking forward to, but it is something we have to prepare for. In today's video, I'll talk you through some of the key changes and how they actually affect your property portfolio. Firstly, the good news is you can still increase rents to market rate. You can still select the tenants that are going to be living in your property. You can still regain possession of the property, albeit under certain grounds. And property has stood the test of time. The rental business will continue to be a solid investment, and you shouldn't read as much into the headlines as they'd like you to. Section 21, the no-fault eviction. This disappears on May the 1st, and it is not being replaced by a similar counterpart. Ultimately, you can no longer evict tenants for whatever reason you like. There are grounds in which you can gain repossession, and these will continue to be enforceable. Section 1, which is grounds for repossession due to a sale or due to a family member moving in, or you moving back in. Then we have Section 8, which is, in layman's terms, failure to follow the terms of the tenancy. Think rent arrears, antisocial behaviour, etc., etc. So what will happen to my existing tenancies and new tenancies going forward? The change from assured short hold tenancies to assured periodic tenancies basically means that it's no longer fixed terms and it's monthly rolling with no end date from day one. On May the 1st, all existing tenancies and all new tenancies will follow this new periodic system. What do I have to do to my current tenancies? So if you have existing tenancies, they'll automatically convert. You do not need to reissue a new tenancy agreement. The only thing that is required by the government is to issue a government-approved notification letter to all tenants to advise them that the changes have taken place. One of the key changes from the switch of assured short hold to periodic, fixed to rolling, is that the tenant can give 2 months notice at any point during the tenancy. Unfortunately, this includes on day one. However, I do want you to consider the behaviour of tenants isn't necessarily going to drastically change overnight. I mean, in reality, who wants to upheaval their whole life, move into a property, just to move 2 months later? It's unlikely that we'll see an increase in this type of behaviour, but you need to be aware that it is a risk and it could legitimately happen. Now, the one thing I want you to consider is a shift in mindset. Tenant retention becomes priority number one. Since you can no longer control how long a tenant will be in the property, what you can control is their experience renting it. Within reason, of course, it's a fair trade on both sides. But retaining good tenants protects your cash flow, protects your investment, makes this shift a lot easier for everyone. Because tenants now have the ability to leave within 2 months, as much as they likely won't want to, they do need a reason to stay. If maintenance is not addressed for long periods of time, they now have the ability to leave the tenancy, and you could be left with a void period that was unexpected. As I mentioned earlier, there's a trade-off. A landlord-tenant relationship should be mutually beneficial, but ultimately, giving a good tenant a good place to live will make their experience better. Likely they will stay longer and you will be in a stronger position. The Renters' Rights Act isn't the end of private rentals. Yes, it is a big change, but like all legislation, it will become the norm. Now, what I need you to consider before May the 1st is review your tenant selection process. Ultimately, because a tenant could be in your property for a very long time, you want to make sure you're putting the best person in there. If you're currently managed by Bowson, this has always been our top priority. We're making improvements to referencing to make it even more watertight to ensure we know as much as we can about the person we're putting in your property. If you're not currently managed by Bowson, I advise you speak to your agent, make sure they really understand the changes, the implications that they could have on you personally, because ultimately responsibility will fall back to the landlord. I hope this has been helpful. Yes, it's a big change, but it's not the first. It won't be the last, and property will remain profitable. Thank you and goodbye.